He slapped me so hard my vision flickered white, right there, on the courthouse steps. The crowd froze. His hand still trembled in the air, cuffing me by the collar, as if he could erase what I'd become. His breath smelled of cigarettes and envy. "Filthy animal," he spat. "Family disgrace." And my father just stood there, silent, watching. That silence cut deeper than the slap. My cousin's grip tightened on my throat, metal handcuffs biting my skin as he whispered, "You think you're better than me now?" I didn't answer. I just looked him in the eye, long enough for him to see what he'd just done, long enough for him to realize I wasn't the same boy he used to bully. Then the security guards rushed in, pulling him off me, dragging him back. His voice echoed behind me as they restrained him. "You'll never belong here." Maybe he was right, but belonging was never my goal. Power was. He was my cousin, but we grew up like rivals trapped in the same skin. He had charm, I had silence. He had connections, I had determination. As kids, he'd mock me for dreaming too big. When I said I wanted to study law, he laughed and said, "Law? You? You'll be mopping the courthouse floors before you ever walk inside one." He joined the police force right after school, just enough authority to abuse, but never enough discipline to respect it. I went to law school instead, scraping by on scholarships, long nights, and the kind of hunger that burns past exhaustion. Our paths diverged, but the resentment didn't. Every family dinner was a performance. He'd show up in uniform, slap his badge on the table, and talk about real men who served justice. My father would beam with pride. "That's my nephew," he'd say, while I sat quietly, invisible, drowning in student debt. But I kept studying, kept passing, kept climbing. And he kept falling. Small misconduct swept under the rug, disciplinary warnings ignored, favors pulled to save him from suspension. Until one night, he went too far. He arrested a man for resisting, beat him half to death, then falsified the report. The victim's family came to me, just a young attorney back then, desperate, broke, hopeless. I took the case, pro bono. When he realized who was representing them, he laughed. "You think you can take me down? You're nothing but a failed lawyer from a failed family." I didn't reply. I didn't need to, because the truth was already on paper, and I had everything I needed to end him. It took months, quiet, strategic, precise. I built the case like a weapon. Every report, every body cam frame, every falsified signature, layered and cataloged. And while he partied, I prepared. While he mocked me, I maneuvered. He never saw it coming. When the internal affairs investigation opened, he panicked, tried to call in favors, tried to pull family, even my father. And that's when the betrayal came full circle. My father called me, voice cold. "You're destroying your cousin's career." I said, "No, Dad, I'm just holding him accountable." He hung up. I didn't hear from him again, until today. So when my cousin lunged at me outside that courthouse, when his hand struck my face and the crowd gasped, I stayed calm, because I already knew what waited inside. I walked past the metal detectors, ignoring the stares, and entered the courtroom. It smelled like varnish and judgment. The clerk stood as I approached. "Judge," she said quietly, handing me the robe. And as I took my seat, high above the same floor he used to swagger across in his uniform, I heard the door creak open. He froze at the threshold, my father beside him. The color drained from his face when he saw me sitting there, in the chair, the judge's chair. For a moment, the whole world went still. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. His trial hadn't even begun, but the verdict was already written in his eyes. I leaned forward, just slightly, meeting his stare the way I once did as a child. "I told you," I said softly, voice steady as the gavel in my hand. "I don't mop floors here." The gavel struck wood. Once. Clean. Final. When it was over, they left through the same door they'd entered. My father wouldn't look at me. My cousin's head hung low, wrists chained, the same cuffs he once used on others. Justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it walks calmly up the courthouse steps after being slapped, breathes deeply, and takes its rightful seat. I didn't become a judge to prove them wrong. I became one to remember exactly why they were. And as the echo of that gavel faded, I realized I'd never needed their pride, only their silence.